In part 2 of this story, Zainabu's heart raced as she uncovered the brutal evidence of Joseph's cruelty on Chioma's arm. The danger of exposing the truth was palpable, with Joseph's piercing gaze watching their every move. Chioma's fleeting hope met Zainabu's determined resolve, forming a pact against their hidden tormentor. As Joseph's suspicion grew, the looming threat of his wrath cast a dark shadow over their fragile resistance. Every moment was charged with tension, setting the stage for a high-stakes confrontation. Witness the explosive unraveling of secrets and the gripping struggle for freedom. Follow us to discover what happens next in this harrowing battle for truth and survival. As Zainabu's hand brushed against Chioma's arm, the bruises became starkly evident. Chioma's reaction, her flinch and the visible pain, was a clear sign of the abuse she had suffered. Each bruise was like a dark mark on a story of suffering, hidden beneath Chioma's practiced calm. The sight of them sent a chill down Zainabu's spine, each one a silent testimony to the torment Chioma endured. Zainabu's heart raced with a mixture of fear and determination. The gravity of the situation was clear, the truth needed to be revealed. But exposing Joseph's cruelty was fraught with danger. Zainabu knew she had to tread carefully, as any hint of dissent could trigger Joseph's wrath. His vigilant eyes were always on guard, ready to crush any sign of rebellion. The kitchen, which should have been a place of bustling activity and warmth, felt ironically secretive and fraught with dread. Zainabu glanced around to ensure no one was watching. The aroma of sumptuous dishes wafted through the air, but the real atmosphere was one of tension and fear. What can I do? Zainabu's mind raced as she considered her next steps. The situation was dire, and Chioma's safety was paramount. She decided to remain close to Chioma, observing her for any further signs of distress. Her plan was to gather more information and find a way to reveal Chioma's plight without drawing unwanted attention. For Chioma, the brief moment of empathy from Zainabu was both frightening and exhilarating. The contrast between Zainabu's kindness and the harsh reality of her daily life offered a glimmer of hope. The idea that someone could see and understand her suffering, even briefly, ignited a fragile hope for freedom in her otherwise bleak existence. Joseph, ever the master of deception, had keenly observed the brief interaction between Zainabu and Chioma. His sharp, calculating eyes missed nothing. When Zainabu had touched Chioma's arm, Joseph's instinctive suspicion fled. He was adept at reading people and spotting potential threats, and this moment had not escaped his notice. As Zainabu left the kitchen, Joseph's gaze followed her with a cold, calculating intensity. He approached Chioma with a menacing air, his voice low and dangerous. "What did you discuss with our guest?" he demanded, his tone laced with an ominous edge. "Did you reveal anything you shouldn't have?" Chioma's heart raced uncontrollably, and her hands trembled as she tried to steady herself. The fear of Joseph's wrath was overwhelming, making her struggle to maintain her composure. "No, nothing at all," she stammered, her voice quivering with a mixture of fear and anxiety. Despite her efforts, the tremor in her voice betrayed her inner turmoil. Joseph's face hardened into a mask of steely resolve. He could sense that something was amiss, but he chose to bide his time rather than react impulsively. His suspicion was growing, but he decided to keep his cards close to his chest. Joseph's mind was already racing with strategies to safeguard his secrets and neutralize any potential threats. He meticulously planned how to monitor Chioma's every move and ensure that Zainabu's concern did not jeopardize his carefully constructed facade. His calculating gaze lingered on Chioma, each moment steeped in a silent promise of further scrutiny. Joseph's thoughts churned with plans to tighten his control, ready to strike if necessary to protect his hidden cruelty. As the evening wore on, Zainabu's concern for Chioma deepened. The lavish feast, which should have been a symbol of opulence and success, now felt like a cruel mockery of Chioma's hidden suffering. Every laughter-filled moment, every cheerful toast from the guests only heightened the stark contrast between their joy and Chioma's quiet misery. Zainabu watched Chioma closely throughout the night. The exhaustion and fear etched on Chioma's face were impossible to ignore. Zainabu's heart ached with every passing moment, and she felt a mounting urgency to act. Confronting Joseph directly was fraught with danger, and she knew it could provoke a severe backlash. Yet, the need to help Chioma and uncover the truth was overpowering. Her mind raced through potential solutions. Zainabu understood that gathering concrete evidence of Joseph's cruelty was crucial. She needed to find a way to alert the village authorities without arousing suspicion. The task was daunting, fraught with risks, but Zainabu's resolve remained unshaken. She felt a profound sense of responsibility to aid Chioma, to expose the hidden cruelty that had cast a long shadow over her life. Zainabu continued to observe Chioma, her determination hardening. She resolved to be discreet, to collect the evidence she needed, and to devise a plan that would bring Chioma's plight to light without jeopardizing her safety. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but Zainabu was prepared to navigate them, driven by the conviction that justice and compassion must prevail. Zainabu began to devise a plan to expose Joseph's cruelty, fully aware of the delicate and dangerous nature of her mission. Her first priority was to gather more information about Chioma's situation and to find a way to document the abuse. Concrete evidence would be essential to persuade the village authorities of Joseph's wrongdoing. During the quiet moments between serving the guests, Zainabu seized every opportunity to speak with Chioma. She approached the conversation with utmost discretion, gently asking questions and offering words of comfort. Despite her careful approach, Chioma's responses were guarded. Zainabu could sense the desperation and fear in her voice, a stark contrast to the facade she was forced to maintain. Zainabu also took it upon herself to explore the compound more thoroughly. The grandeur of the home, with its high walls and opulent furnishings, was a stark contrast to the harsh reality hidden within. Zainabu's search for signs of abuse or hidden evidence was meticulous and cautious. She knew she had to be careful not to draw any attention to her investigation, as any hint of suspicion could jeopardize her efforts and Chioma's safety. In her exploration, Zainabu looked for any clues that could substantiate Chioma's suffering, scraps of evidence that might indicate the reality behind the grand facade. The task was challenging, but Zainabu's resolve remained steadfast. She understood that revealing the truth would require careful planning and patience. Each piece of information she uncovered was a step closer to exposing the hidden cruelty and ensuring justice for Chioma. As the evening drew to a close, the atmosphere in the compound grew heavy with tension. The laughter and chatter of the guests had faded, leaving behind an eerie silence broken only by the sound of Joseph's footsteps echoing through the halls. His mood was a dark storm, brewing with an intensity that made the air thick with foreboding. Joseph's anger was palpable as he approached Chioma, his fury evident in every step. The room seemed to shrink as he confronted her, his voice a roar that made Chioma's heart pound uncontrollably. "What did you tell our guest?" he bellowed, his eyes blazing with suspicion. "Do you regret speaking out? Do you think you can betray me and get away with it?" The fear that gripped Chioma was overwhelming. She understood that any hint of rebellion or disobedience could lead to severe punishment. "I didn't say anything," she pleaded, her voice trembling with terror. "I swear, I kept everything to myself." Her desperation was clear, her attempts to placate Joseph marred by her visible fear. Joseph's eyes remained cold and unyielding, his anger showing no signs of abating. He continued to berate Chioma, his threats hanging in the air like a tangible menace. The oppressive weight of the night seemed to press down on her, amplifying her sense of dread. Each harsh word from Joseph was a reminder of her precarious situation, leaving Chioma in a state of heightened anxiety and helplessness. She could only hope that Zainabu's concern had not led to any actions that might worsen her plight. Amidst Joseph's raging fury, Chioma's mind raced, searching for a glimmer of hope. The relentless storm of his anger made her feel trapped and helpless. In a moment of sheer desperation, Chioma made a risky decision, realizing that her only chance to escape her nightmare was to find a way to reach out for help. With trembling hands, she seized a fleeting opportunity as the guests began to leave. Carefully and discreetly, she managed to slip a small note between the plates on one of the tables. The note was her silent plea for rescue, hastily scrawled and hidden among the remnants of the feast. It was a daring move, but Chioma's desperation drove her to take this perilous chance. The note was a brief but urgent message, begging for assistance and revealing the grim reality of her situation. She knew the risk was immense. If Joseph discovered the note, the consequences could be dire. Yet, the hope that someone might find it and understand the gravity of her plight gave her the strength to act. As Chioma retreated to a corner of the kitchen, her heart pounded with a mix of fear and hope. The note could be her only chance to break free from Joseph's cruelty. Every second felt like an eternity as she anxiously awaited any sign that her desperate act might have succeeded. The stakes were incredibly high, and Chioma's future hinged on whether her plea for help would reach the right hands. The night was thick with tension as Zainabu prepared to leave the compound. Her thoughts were consumed with worry for Chioma, and the weight of her concern grew heavier with each passing minute. Just as she was about to step out, a sudden and loud commotion erupted outside, shaking her from her thoughts. Zainabu's heart raced, her instinct screaming that something significant was unfolding. The noise grew louder, punctuated by the clamor of voices and hurried footsteps. Each sound heightened her anxiety, and she felt a surge of hope mixed with dread. The commotion seemed too intense to be coincidental, it had to be connected to Chioma's situation. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and concern, Zainabu moved swiftly toward the source of the noise. Her heart pounded as she navigated through the darkened halls, her mind racing with possibilities. When she reached the compound's entrance, she was met with a surprising and overwhelming sight. The village elders and local watchmen were gathered outside, their voices raised in urgent conversation. Zainabu's eyes widened as she realized what was happening. The source of the commotion was the hidden note that Chioma had slipped between the plates. One of the guests had discovered it, recognizing its urgency and seriousness. The guest had promptly brought it to the attention of the village authorities, leading them to act quickly. Relief and apprehension washed over Zainabu as she witnessed the unfolding events. The village elders and watchmen were now poised to confront Joseph, their presence a beacon of hope for Chioma's freedom. The scene marked a pivotal moment, where the hidden truth was on the brink of being exposed, and justice for Chioma was finally within reach. Zainabu's heart pounded in her chest as she watched the village elders and watchmen gather outside Joseph's compound. The sight was both reassuring and intimidating. Their presence was a significant step forward, but Zainabu knew that the real challenge lay ahead. The confrontation with Joseph was about to unfold, and its outcome was uncertain. The elders and watchmen, driven by a sense of urgency, approached the compound with determined strides. Zainabu, feeling a surge of hope, led them through the grand yet oppressive halls of the home. Her footsteps echoed in the silence, each step bringing them closer to uncovering the truth about Chioma's plight. As they reached the kitchen, Zainabu gestured towards the area where she had seen the signs of Chioma's suffering. The room, which had been a place of hidden pain, now held the promise of justice. The air was charged with anticipation and a sense of impending action. The authorities prepared themselves to confront Joseph and investigate the grim reality behind the facade of his success. Zainabu's role in this pivotal moment was crucial. Her courage in bringing the authorities to the compound demonstrated her unwavering commitment to helping Chioma. She knew the stakes were high, the outcome of this confrontation would determine whether Chioma's suffering would finally be exposed and addressed. With each passing moment, Zainabu's hope for justice grew stronger, even as she braced herself for the confrontation that would reveal the true nature of Joseph's cruelty. The elders and watchmen marched into the compound with unwavering authority and determination. Joseph, caught off guard by their sudden appearance, struggled to mask his surprise. His usual charm and calculated confidence faltered under the intense scrutiny of the village authorities. The confrontation was immediate and charged. The elders demanded to see Chioma and hear her account of the situation. Joseph, trying to uphold his carefully crafted facade, attempted to charm and manipulate them with his smooth words. But the evidence of his cruelty, bruises on Chioma, her visible distress, was too compelling to dismiss. Chioma was brought forward, her face pale and her body trembling. As she faced the authorities, her voice wavered but carried a newfound strength. She recounted the relentless abuse she had suffered at Joseph's hands and the paralyzing fear that had kept her silent for so long. Each word she spoke was laced with the weight of her years of suffering, revealing the harsh reality hidden behind the grandeur of their home. The room fell into a heavy silence as Chioma's testimony unfolded. The intensity of her words, coupled with the visible signs of abuse, painted a stark picture of Joseph's cruelty. The elders and watchmen listened with growing concern, their initial shock transforming into outrage. It was clear that Joseph's reputation was beginning to crumble under the weight of the truth.